Peace and abundance. I hope everybody's doing good. I'm doing good. Y'all, I'm wanting to share my story. I really do. I want to give y'all a little bit more background on me personally. And I'm sharing my story with you all due to the fact I have a lot of lies going around about me that is said by my family, my ex-husband, and my ex-boyfriend as well. And no one knows your truth like you do. So I'm going to tell my truth. This is my truth, regardless of what anyone says. And that's why I say you got to love yourself, because not everybody's perfect. I'm not perfect and never claimed to be perfect. I just claim to learn my lessons and not repeat my lessons. Well, back when I was 15 years of age. I was in the 8th grade. My sister was dating a guy, and I was dating his brother. My sister always wanted us to, do stuff together. I think just to keep an eye on me, to make sure I didn't wake up to who I am. Again, they know or knew who we were before we knew who we were. So that was another way of her keeping a grip on me. We dressed alike. So she would pick out the clothes. Actually, she would go steal the clothes, and we would dress alike. It was always like capris, jeans, little jean jackets and the blue jeans or something like that. It never was like feminine stuff. And y'all see how I dress. That's what I like to dress, as feminine. Well, her boyfriend and my boyfriend were brothers as well. My boyfriend was a year younger than me. We started dating in the 8th grade when I was in the 8th and he was in the 7th. So we both went to middle school together when we first started, which was fine. It worked out just great. We was at the same school and everything. Well, the next year I had to go to high school, and I didn't want to be not around him. He didn't want to be separated from me neither. So we used to skip school. His grandmother worked throughout the day, and he lived with his grandmother. So a lot of times we'd be at his grandmother's home, or we'd go to the arcade, or we'd go to other older people's homes and sit and watch TV with them. May play cards or whatever. We just did what we wanted to do. And keep in mind, I didn't have any parental supervision. My sister, whom was 3 years older than me, was basically one that looked over me. My mom was in and out of mental hospitals. So my father allowed my sister to look over me. Well, he eventually moved to California and found out that I was skipping school. So he called himself coming to get me and making me go to school in California, because he wanted to keep an eye on me and supposedly he wanted to make sure I go to school. Well, I went to California. He never enrolled me in school, you guys. I probably was out of school for about 2 to 4 months, honestly. He asked me to go to the school and enroll myself, and I refused. I didn't want to go to California anyway to go to school, let alone go to Crenshaw High and try to enroll myself. At that time, that's when the gangs and all that stuff was really big in the schools, in which I think it probably still is now, but it was really big. And here I am from Topeka, Kansas. I just heard of gangs. I never seen, we didn't have that I was aware of anyway, in Topeka. So I wasn't going up there. So I would stay at the house and I would be talking on the phone to, my boyfriend, my sister, and family or whatever. And at that time, it was long distance charges. So he wanted to send me back because, I'm running up the phone bill, in which he did send me back. And when I came back, I had found out that my boyfriend had been seeing another girl. And of course, I was, upset about it. And I called myself breaking up with him for a while. We broke up. And I told a friend of mine that I went to school with about it. And she was, at that time, hanging out with college kids, going to college parties and all that stuff, and it was over the summer. So I was hanging with her, and I met a guy that, played football, for Washburn. And we was dating there for a while, and I, just young and dumb, just young and dumb, not really caring about nothing that is never going to happen to me. He was light complected, had funny looking eyes, and hair was looking out good. So I thought he was just the finest thing ever. You heard me? Well, he left, and when he left, he told my friend, tell Sherry I left her a surprise. And so she told me, I'm like, left me a surprise? What is he talking about? Well, he left me a surprise. He left me with herpes, you all. He left me with herpes. I didn't find out about it till months later, because sometimes, you can have it and it doesn't even, you don't even break out, I think, the foods and things like that make you break out more, especially if you eat pork. So I went to the doctor and found out. And of course, I didn't tell anyone. I was distraught. I was 16 years old at that time. I think 16, 17. I'm pretty sure I was 16. And I was like, oh my God, everybody, at that time, I'm thinking, this is life. I'm going to have this for the rest of my life, So I didn't want to tell anybody. I was embarrassed. So, and I knew not to spread it to anyone. I wasn't intimate with my boyfriend, if I had an outbreak, because we got back together. So anyway, moving along, I met my husband. My ex-husband. This is when I had went to California after high school, and my brother had gotten a car accident, so my father asked for me to move back. Y'all, let me finish this. He asked me to move back, so I moved back to Kansas. He claimed he wanted his kids closer, but it ain't like that he was doing anything for me. It's not like I moved with him and I barely seen him. But you all, I really truly believe my boyfriends that I had, they were all picked for me. I didn't pick them, Just like when I moved back, I went to a club with another friend, and I met my ex-husband. We had been dating for probably about 3 months, and I found out I was pregnant. And my father's from Arkansas, so he was real strict. I mean, I had to say yes sir, no sir, and all this stuff. Respect is what I thought it was, but let me keep on with the story. But anyway, so when I got pregnant, he was like, it was kind of like, I guess my ex-husband had asked him, about marriage or whatever. So at this time, I was living with my father. I was pregnant because my ex-husband had went to Saudi Arabia. He was in the military, and he went to Saudi Arabia. And so my father had said to me, you know, are you gonna marry him? You're pregnant. You need to make sure the baby's, and all that. Kind of like putting that in my head, not actually pushing me, but saying all that. You know how. Now that I think about it, how it was for them to just say things, and I was never the kid to go against my parents. I never fought back. I never talked back. I did what I try to make my parents proud of me. I really, truly did. Even like in school, I finished school, although I was skipping school. As a matter of fact, I went to medical assistant school, and I took some college courses. So it's not like I was just a defiant kid. But anyway, so I had my son in the hospital, and that's how my ex-husband found out about my diagnosis. And 3 days after having my son, we got married. We got married at the courthouse. I wouldn't have never married if I hadn't have gotten pregnant. However, after marrying him, of course I fell in love. There wasn't no game. I wasn't trying to, just have a father for my kid. I made a home. I tried to make him comfortable. I did everything. We were married for 16 years. Then after like 12 years of our marriage, he wanted to move back home because he was losing some of his family members, and he wanted to spend some time with his family members before losing them all. He had lost his grandfather, and so he wanted to go back home, move back home. And my mom warned me. She warned me. She told me that if he really cared about his family that way, when he got out the military, he would have moved me and the baby back home with him at that time. He wouldn't have waited for 12 years. She said, he gonna mistreat you, Sherry, when you get there. I was like, Mama, I'm thinking, she's just angry because I'm leaving, because I was my mom's ride or die. I was the one that stuck it out with her. When I was 15, I worked at Wagner's Diner to pay the rent because my mom was, under mental distress. So I paid the rent. I was my mom's go-to person. But anyway, she was right. She was definitely right. He mistreated me. He did everything to me, you all. Everything. And I wanted to leave, and he held my diagnosis over my head, as if, I'm going to tell everyone, about, your herpes diagnosis. And that put fear in me. I didn't want people to think that I was some slut bucket, and, I didn't want them to think that, I made a mistake, unfortunately, and I got caught up with my mistake. So anyway, I would stay with him. I'd stay with him up until he put his hands on me, y'all. He put his hands on me, and I left. That's when I left. I called the police, I pressed charges, and I left. I sure did. Dog and all, I took everything, dog and all. But when I left, of course he was trying to get me back, so he come to Kansas, and my dad's hey Ken, how you doing? Shaking his hand, glad to see him, after he knowing he didn't put his hands on his daughter. You know what I'm saying? So that right there made me look at him like, because I know how I felt when my daughter had problems. You know what I mean? I know my actions, so I'm looking like, things just didn't seem right. But I didn't say anything because I didn't disrespect my parents. I just let it ride. And then, there was like because I was his office manager, and there would be some of the guys that would come in and they would hit on me, older guys like some of his workers. And I would tell him, and it would be like, well, they ain't gonna bother you. But he wouldn't say anything to them. It's like there was never any protection. There was never any security. And y'all, I did everything for all my siblings. Every last one of them. Their kids, I treated them like they were my kids. My brother's mother's kids took the kids away, and we didn't see them for like 8 to 10 years. Don't you know, I found those babies. I found them. He wouldn't even have any relationship with them now if it hadn't have been for me. His other son, I've been there for all of them. As a matter of fact, I was willing to take Christopher, his son, to raise him as my own, but my father insisted to take care of him, but he didn't want to take care of me, and when I got to thinking about all this, as I start, healing, getting away from that poison that I was eating and drinking and all that, that's what made me think, he can't be my father, I'm supposed to be the oldest daughter, and you're allowing me to be in harm's way like this. You're not taking me up under your wing when my mother's having a nervous breakdown. My mom went through some things that I'm not even going to share. It is nobody's business, but it traumatized me. He was the first one I called. And now that I think about all of this, you all, I'm telling you all, that magic, that voodoo, all that stuff, it's real. It's real. And when I think about it all, Marie Laveau, that's my great-great-great-grandmother. She and I share the same birthdays. Her story and my story are parallel. It's just on different times. She had a John in her life. I had a John in my life. And they both had the same characteristics. They were both snakes. You heard me? So, you all, and I'm not going to blame him for my diagnosis, but I know that had I had parental guidance like I should have had, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have been able to skip like that. I wouldn't have been able to be around that crowd because I would have had parental guidance. You know what I mean? I was living with my sister. She was 17, 18 years of age. I was 15, and I was living with her. He would send money every month to my sister, but he wasn't sending money to my mom. He paid $35 a week for child support to my mom, but he sent my sister like $300 a month. And then if I called and asked for money, he would send it. Y'all, it's just really weird. It's really weird about everything, but everything happens for a reason because it allowed me to grow to the person that I am today. And that is another reason why I really look out for these babies, these kids, because they don't know. They don't know. They're only doing what they know to do, And that's why I opened up my home to be a foster parent, try to, help kids that didn't have anybody else and really give them the true love that they need, you know? So that is my story. And what has happened is my sister and we stopped talking because she's done so much to me, and I have forgiven her over and over, time after time, time after time. Again, like I said, I've done everything for my nieces, nephews, siblings, all of them. I allowed her son to stay at my house. He robbed me. He took every electronic in my house. And I believe she put him up to it, I believe that there has always been competition now that I look at things, because when I was married, I had built a home from ground up, customized it myself. She came up and she seen my home and all that. When I look back at things and think about the facial expressions, what she's saying, y'all, I'm an empath, I know. But because that is my family, you always like, no, that ain't what's happening. I always pushed it back. No, couldn't be. This is my sister, but it was. That it is what it is. A lot of people had told me that she was jealous of me. So, well, anyway, we made up after her son broke in my house because I felt like, she could have said or done more to, help me get my things back, because he sold them to her daughter's people, It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, then she's gonna turn around and disrespect my kid, my son, after he goes over and help her. She disrespects him. And to think that I'm not going to take up for my baby, or, you love your kid just as much as I love mine, if not more, So I pushed back from going around her, and my niece's birthday comes up, and she has a group text message inviting everybody to come to her birthday party or whatever. And then after that, probably 2 weeks after her birthday, 2 or 3 weeks, as a matter of fact, her and my sister and my niece's father is going back and forth, saying all these Bible verses and all this stuff. And I know who they are. I know who they are. I know how they are. So I was like, y'all hypocrites, saying all this, So and it was just for me to say something. She knows how I feel about hypocrites and all that stuff. We talked. So it was all a setup, y'all. It was all a setup. So anyway, in that group text message, she's like, and this is for everybody, my niece's friends that I don't know, other people, everybody that's in this group text. You remember when your ex-husband told me about your herpes? And I'm like, now that was just something that she wanted to do. She was trying to humiliate me. She was trying to. Okay, so after all of that, y'all, nobody in the family stood up for me, didn't say anything. It was like everything was okay for her to do. So I'm looking at these people and it's like I done helped every last one of these people, and nobody's coming in for my defense. My car, the daycare, to the foster care, to everything, just, it's like the rug got pulled up under me. It's like I got black marked from Topeka, Nobody was there for me. Nobody. So it's like, I got to thinking, why am I here? Why am I fighting to try to keep this house? Because I was really worried about, paying my mortgage and, taking care of dogs, the yard, all this stuff. Even my lawnmower got messed up, y'all. I'm telling y'all, that black magic, that voodoo, all that stuff, they still do it. I promise you. I'm a witness to it because I was affected by it. So, y'all, I'm telling y'all, I was hearing about them laughing about, what was going on in my life. I was hearing about it. Nobody was telling me. This is what my spirits was telling me. I got to sitting on that back porch and got that sun hitting me, and I could hear, I start following what was being told to me, say these affirmations, do this. I'm telling you, it built me up. It built up my confidence. It built up my willpower to keep going. Because at one time, I felt like I was, about ready to give up. I told y'all about when, my father came over there and we was talking and how distraught I was. I mean, I was on that floor. You heard me? He walked out that door. I fell to the floor. My spirit team picked me up off that floor. You heard me? I know that there is a higher power. And the higher power told me, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And ever since I've been following that voice, everything been okay. I left my hometown. I'm rebuilding my own foundation, not on lies and not on deceit and not on no magic, not no wicked magic that is. You heard me? So I feel so much better, y'all. I feel so much better, but it just made me just know that what I was doing was right. I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. But this was a way that Most High wanted me to see my family. Most High was trying to get me to see who they were long before this. Long before this. When I think about all the scenarios, I mean, there's so much more that I can share, but I'm already, 27 minutes into this video. But there's so much more that I can share. So that's why I say, y'all, I've never had no, I've never had unconditional love like I give. That's why I love kids, because they love you without any condition. They just want to be loved too. And a lot of times they've been broke. They've been broken, and I just try to help them, And the thing is, when you do people wrong, it comes back. It comes back on you. Whatever you put out in the universe is going to come back. That's why I'm where I'm at now. Because I'm getting back what I put out, I could be up under a bridge somewhere, and that's where they wanted me, y'all. They want me to be homeless. They didn't want nobody to help me. They wanted everybody to turn their back on me, not talk to me. They want that because I talk to too many people. I start putting the puzzles together. They didn't want me putting the puzzles together on why my identity was stolen, why I was pushed away and all that. They didn't want that. They didn't want me to see all the money that they was they was burning through, all the trips they was taking, because they were using my money. I know this. Most High has told me this. You heard me? That's why I've been on here talking about this. So what it is they're saying all these nasty and mean things about me to get people to frown up at me and not look at them, at what they're doing, because what they're actually saying about me, that's what they're doing. That's their characters. I've never been a stripper. I never posed for no nude photos. None of that. None of that. None of it. But because they know of my diagnosis, it's easy for them to throw those nasty things on me. But I know of their diagnoses too. You heard me? But I don't say anything. I don't say anything, but I know of them. So I'm just want y'all to know that I've made mistakes. I know I made mistakes, and it's a shame that your own people, whom you've done everything for, like blackmails you, because they can't control you. It's all about control. Want me to be all happy-go-lucky, and forgive them. They don't even apologize. They just want to call you and, what you doing, like nothing ever happened. There's never an apology. Never apology. So I'm just glad that all of that is behind me. I'm at a place now where I'm just looking for my soul family. I know I have learned so much from this journey, and everything happens for a reason. After going through all this and knowing the poison of the food, I start eating better, start eating right. And that's why I say your body heals. Your body will heal itself. Every 7 years, you generate new cells. So you can heal, y'all. You can heal. I don't care what they say about that herpes virus. I have not had an outbreak for 4 years. And that's because I've been eating right. Let me show y'all. Hold on. Let me